Hello and welcome to Health Affairs This Week. I'm your host, Jeff Byers. We're recording on May 28th, 2025. Join our Insider program and gain access to our upcoming Summer Slam of Health Policy. On June 17th, we have a Risk Adjustments primer event with J. Michael McWilliams. And on July 9th, Sarah Rosenbaum will moderate a panel wrapping up the current Supreme Court session. This is the fourth time we've hosted this popular event, so join Insider to join us. And today on the pod, we have Health Affairs' own Michael Gerber. Last week, Insider released its first trend report on AI in healthcare. This is hot on the heels of the FDA releasing a timeline this month to scale AI across its centers. While we won't dive into the actual report, you'll have to join Insider for that. We wanted to talk about FDA's AI efforts, what it says, what it doesn't say, et cetera, et cetera. Michael, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Jeff, thanks a lot for having me.
Michael, so how would you define your relationship with technology?
That is a great question. I mean, I was able to, log in to record this podcast, so I feel like that was a success. But I am certainly not an early adopter when it comes to AI, and would probably say I'm sometimes a skeptic, although I'm trying to be open-minded about it and certainly see the benefits it can have.
Yeah, so when I say the words or phrase single sign-on, do you get filled with dread or excitement?
I mostly, I think I can handle single sign-on, Jeff, but beyond that, it starts to get a little tricky.
Yeah, when looking to AI, we are men of a certain age. I'm probably in the same boat as you are, where I'm optimistically skeptical about the phrase and technology itself. Because as we talked about off mic, it can be used to be a very broad descriptor or a very specific pinpoint descriptor. And with that framing, as we talk about the FDA press release, I think it kind of lends itself to the vague descriptors. That's just my interpretation of it. So looking at the FDA release, they released a timeline to try and scale AI across their centers by the end of June of this year, which checking on my calendar is within 30 days or so. So not a long time. This follows the completion of a generative AI pilot. So what can you tell us about the timeline and the general purpose of this Gen AI use at the FDA?
Yeah, I mean, based on what the FDA said and the minimal other reporting out there, there's not a lot more to really say about it. They did release this announcement where the new FDA commissioner said he was, quote, blown away by the success of their first AI-assisted scientific review pilot, but there was no more detail really as to what that means, what that pilot was, how extensive it was it used just for one piece of the review of one, product or drug? Was it used more widely than that? And at the same time, he also said that they have an aggressive timeline to scale use of AI internally across all FDA centers. So, all the centers, offices within the FDA by June 30th, which, as you said, is just a month away. But it's also unclear on what that means. I mean, if every center is using it, but how much are they using it? Because they say full integration by the end of June, which sounds pretty extensive, but also that they will continue to refine it after. I mean, they say, quote, to expand use cases, improve functionality, and adapt to the evolving needs. So they're not really saying every use case will be determined by the next month, but certainly excited about using AI to review different drugs, different medical devices, food, whatever else the FDA is doing to do those reviews faster and more efficiently.
Yeah, thanks for that quick overview. Yeah, it's a little vague, and also there has been some news reports on it, not a large amount. Stat News published a under paywall article called like 3 or 5 burning questions about FDA's AI review. So there are some people looking into this. What were some of the details not included?
Right. Well, as we sort of alluded to, some of the details are exactly how they're using this. So, and also how much this announcement actually means anything new is happening. It's not as if the FDA wasn't looking at AI and using some form of AI already. I mean, even defining what AI is, right, as we talked about, is tough. Some of us have sort of been using AI since Google was created in some ways, and it's a sliding scale. But some of the things weren't talked about is, there's some obvious sort of simple, I think, use cases that maybe even to you and I don't sound that scary. When a company or manufacturer is submitting for approval at the FDA, it's hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of paperwork, often of scientific data and other information they have to submit. And maybe AI is already or can be used to just sort of look at that application and see if anything's missing. And without a human having to do that first step, which can be very tedious and time consuming, just to go back to someone and say, hey, you forgot this page or this isn't filled out right. So that's sort of the first step in how AI might be used. But then, all the way up to actually evaluating the data and comparing it to previous applications and other drugs, for example, to see the safety and effectiveness of the drug and help the scientists, go through all that and determine exactly what they're looking at.
This press release kind of reminds me of my time as a business reporter when I was working at Healthcare Dive, where you'd get so many press releases, and some of them had some really interesting information, and some of them you could kind of tell were just created to remind people that a company actually existed. So FDA is a lot different, and that they are not trying to get venture funds for the most part, but it was a little vague, and maybe they're trying to get some shine that comes from AI or talking about AI. And we at Health Affairs are trying to promote our AI in Healthcare Insider Report, which you can get for signing up for Insider for $180 a year. And so based on that, now we're talking about it, the FDA release. So interesting with that. Going back to the press release, again, kind of going on what we see in it, does this signify a shift in governmental thinking regarding AI deployment?
Yeah, I think yes and no. I think the FDA announcement may or may not. I mean, there in the little reporting that has happened since the announcement. Robert Califf, the former commissioner under President Biden and previous to that as well, said we were already using AI. This was already underway, but he did express a little bit, a little concern over this timeline. Again, not knowing exactly what it means, but that they don't want to rush into it because we do know the dangers of using AI in different ways. And I think that's, where you and I have certainly seen that, some of the skepticism we have, and within healthcare and algorithms and things like that. So I think it might be a shift in just doing it faster at the FDA, but then we don't know, again, exactly what it means. I think that the Biden administration certainly, did put out an executive order that proposed some sort of, guardrails or potential regulations, and they were not necessarily anti-AI, but certainly trying to be careful and think about it. And beyond the FDA or even beyond healthcare, the Trump administration has rolled back that executive order and just in general seemed to be a little more aggressive with saying they're going to use AI. I think the other aspect of that, Commissioner McCary was pretty careful in the press release to say, this is to help people do their jobs better, not to replace people. At the same time, as we know, a lot of people have been let go from the FDA and other organizations throughout the administration. There certainly is a fear, I think, among people in organizations that are regulated by the FDA or have products up that things would take longer because they had fewer people. So perhaps it's a reaction to that as well to say, hey, look, we might have cut some of these people, but we're making progress with AI, which will make things more efficient and faster. And sort of, they don't mention Doge directly, and I don't think this is necessarily straight out of that, but it's along those same lines of, maybe fewer people, but faster computers, they can do their job just as well, if not better.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're pointing into a direction of where they're going, but without the concrete details. You and I and other people can probably put our thoughts and feelings about AI onto this press release about whether it's and how what it means to them.
Right. Now, the one thing, the one reporting sort of separate from this, but recently Wired magazine did report that the FDA and their new chief AI officer, who they recently appointed from industry, has a lot of experience in consulting and technology and government, but has been meeting with OpenAI about, developing a specific chat GPT model, I guess, or OpenAI model for the FDA to use. At the same time, some of the big concerns with AI and the FDA that people are raising are, what does it mean when you work with those outside companies, and will the AI software or the AI model itself be completely closed off to prevent, proprietary information from being leaked or being used to teach a model and then being out there in the world.
So what can we expect moving forward? Like, what are the immediate next steps?
Right. Well, I think the first thing is that the FDA did say that in June, so that's just a few days away, that additional details and updates on the initiative will be shared publicly. So we'll wait and see if this really was just a teaser for a lot more details, or if sort of another example of saying we're going to tell you a lot more and then we only get a little taste or not much more in June. So beyond that, I think waiting to see really what some of the people who work with the FDA, what they say. Are they seeing reviews come back with evidence? Are they being told AI was used as part of this review? Are reviews happening faster? And those things will take time, right? Reviews can take up to a year, so it'll take time to see if they're faster, if they're more efficient, and then even longer to see if they're even more safe and effective than what happens now or not.
So potentially lots more details to come, many questions to weigh and to ask in the future. So Michael Gerber, thanks for joining us today on Health Affairs This Week. And if you, the listener, have more questions about AI, you can join Health Affairs Insider for $180 a year and get our new trend report on AI in healthcare, which breaks down some current uses of AI, what are some state laws happening in AI, and where they intersect in the healthcare landscape. And with that, share this episode with the generative robot in your life, and we'll see you next week. Thanks all.